Hello and welcome to Analyzing Veeam Cost Savings and Business Benefits for AWS. Today's webinar is sponsored by Veeam and AWS and produced by Actual Tech Media. My name is Scott Becker. I'm from Actual Tech and I'm excited to be your moderator for this special event. Now, before we get to today's great session, we have a few housekeeping items that are going to help you get the most out of it. First off, we want this to be an informative event for you, so we encourage any questions in the questions box in your webinar control panel. So not only will we have team members responding to questions during the live event, but we'll also have a dedicated Q&A session at the end of the presentation where we'll discuss in greater detail some of the top questions that you ask. The Q&A panel is also the place to let us know about any technical issues that you might be experiencing. A browser refresh will fix most audio, video, or slide advancement issues, but if that doesn't work, just let us know there in the Q&A and we'll provide further technical assistance. Now, second, in the handout section of your webinar control panel, you'll find that we're offering several resources. We have got count them, 7 resources in the handout section. You're not going to want to miss out on these. There's a free 30-day trial of Veeam Hybrid Cloud. There's the Hybrid Cloud ebook. There are cost calculators. There are 3 case studies. And of course, the centerpiece of the list is the total economic impact study that's going to be a major focus of the discussion today. By the way, quick pro tip about the platform. When there are so many great resources in the console, I recommend opening them one at a time and sort of confirming that you got them. Sometimes if you open 3 or 4 in quick succession, you'll get error messages. So just a note for an event like this with so many great resources for you. So I encourage you to access those resources now and share them with your friends and colleagues. Now, third, at the end of this webinar event, we'll be awarding a $250 Amazon gift card to one lucky registrant. Of course, you must be in attendance during the live event to qualify for the prize. Official terms and conditions of today's prize drawing can be found in the handout section. Scroll past all those great resources and you'll find the link with the detail there at the bottom. Okay. With that housekeeping out of the way, let's get to today's fantastic session. So it's my pleasure to introduce you to our presenters today. We have Kelsey Teskey, who's a product marketing manager at Veeam, and we have Mary Quinn, a senior go-to-market specialist for data and AI with Amazon Web Services. So now I'm going to turn things over to Kelsey to get us started.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us today on this Cost Savings and Business Benefits Enabled by Veeam with AWS webinar. We are really excited about this because Veeam and AWS worked together with Forrester to produce this amazing TEI study to show you some great benefits that you could also potentially receive while working with Veeam and AWS. However, before we get into that, we really wanted to take a step back and explain why we did this TEI study. And that's because we understand that controlling cloud costs is a major priority for organizations. In the Flexera State of the Cloud 2024 report, controlling costs was a top priority, and that's not a surprise, as here in this graph we can see as a top initiative organizations plan to take this year is to optimize existing use of the cloud. We all know the benefits, and there's some great benefits that the cloud offers, such as the flexibility to scale their environment up or down when they need to, the top security features, because as you know, AWS is always improving and modifying their features, and not having to maintain the cost and the maintenance of a data center infrastructure, which can be quite costly. However, if the cloud environment is not set up correctly, or if it's improperly, or if there's any issues, that can lead to bill shock at the end of the month, which we all dread and try to avoid. So organizations understand how essential the cloud can be for their company and how it can help propel them forward into the future. However, they need ways to control costs. And before we get into the overspending and what causes that, I really want to highlight too that there's some other features on this graph that Veeam and AWS can help with, such as migrating data, better financial reporting, automated policies, and more. But Mary, do you want to go over what causes overspend?
Yeah, for sure. Thank you. There's certainly opportunities to spend more than anticipated on cloud services, and that's true if you haven't developed a discipline for cloud financial management. I'd say some of the most common mistakes that I see in my role as a specialist include, not taking advantage of the visualization and the analysis tools that we offer that help you drill into, what's generating the most cost, or even what's generating the unexpected cost, and then taking steps to manage that cost and use that data to prepare a thoughtful forecast that maps your cloud service usage to your business growth. Also, poor resource management comes into play when users don't understand how their actions trigger cost. I see that a lot too. Cloud ops and FinOps teams can really help by implementing guidelines, policies, even guardrails that can help impact inefficient behavior. And then inefficient architectures are usually the result of silos in an organization, a lack of collaboration across teams, and a lack of understanding of different options and then optimizing across workloads. And then shadow IT there refers to those workloads that spring up in the cloud because it's just quick and easy to use. I mean, all you really need to get started is a credit card. And then before you know it, these workloads have grown and they aren't leveraging the enterprise efficiencies that are there and that are designed to control cost. And then finally, active monitoring can alert you to when certain cost triggers exceed established limits or budgets. Without them, you're going to find out what happened when the bill arrives, which is, obviously not what we want. Next slide. It's possible for backup to become a big cloud cost center too if you're not careful. So using relatively expensive snapshots as a backup mechanism has the potential to result in snapshot sprawl. And if you don't carefully manage your retention policies, the cost to store all these snapshots and backups that are growing exponentially are just going to add up. Also in the cloud, you pay when data crosses into a different region. So if your backup architecture isn't optimized, you could incur a lot of what we refer to as DTIR charges. That stands for data transfer interregion. And if you're using multiple backup tools and services, which is really common, your people costs can skyrocket. The consolidation of tools allows you to redeploy those valuable people so they can focus on, building whatever the next big thing is for your business. Back to you.
Thank you. So backups, as you can see, can be a big cost center, but Veeam and AWS are here to help. We are the market leaders in data resilience and ransomware recovery. So whether you are backing up on-premises workloads to AWS, protecting workloads within AWS, or migrating workloads to AWS, we have you covered. Since cloud environments are so flexible, you can reshape it and expand it or shrink it depending on how your organization wants and needs, without it ever affecting the security of your environment. Because it should not be an either-or situation. You should not have to choose between a cost-effective environment or a secure one. And with Veeam and AWS, you can have it all without the sacrifice. But what are some individual benefits that you can get with Veeam? Well, first, our simplified management. The easy-to-use one platform to manage your entire cloud environment, whether you are solely on AWS and you have multiple accounts, or you're a hybrid cloud, you will be able to manage it all from a single platform and see if an issue arises or if a backup does not take. You can see that across your environment without having to log in multiple times. And next are our fast recoveries. An IDC study demonstrated that Veeam is 7 times faster at recovery than other solutions. So whether you want to recover a full instance or even at a granular level with the individual file, that is able to keep your business running even when an incident occurs. And when done properly, you can make sure that you recover reliably so you're not recovering corrupted data. And then lastly, what we're all here for, controlling costs. We help control costs from intelligent tiering to 2-to-1 compression to built-in cost forecasting. You'll be able to see an estimate of how much your data protection spend will be per month before activating it. That is crucial, so that way you can see if you will be over budget and therefore avoiding the dreaded bill shock at the end of every month. And you'll see more of these benefits in the TEI study as we go through this webinar. but let's look at some of the benefits that AWS brings individually as well.
Yeah, thank you so much, Kelsey. So AWS has more services and more features within those services than any other cloud provider. We've been continually expanding our services to support virtually any cloud workload. And now we have more than 200 fully featured services. That's across compute, storage, databases, networking, analytics, machine learning, artificial intelligence, security, and so much more. And in addition to having the greatest breadth of services, AWS also has the deepest functionality within those services, and those differences really matter. AWS is architected to be the most flexible and secure cloud computing environment available today. Our core infrastructure, it's built to satisfy the security requirements for the military and for global banks and other high sensitivity organizations. And we offer multiple fault isolation capabilities that improve resilience and allow for encryption of all the data flowing across our network before it leaves our secured facilities. And we back this by a deep set of cloud security tools with over 300 security, compliance, and governance services and features. And in addition to that, AWS supports 143 security standards and compliance certifications. Those include, PCI DSS, HIPAA, high tech, FedRAMP, and GDPR. And these are going to help satisfy compliance requirements for virtually every regulatory agency around the world. For over 17 years, we've been delivering cloud services to millions of customers around the world, and they run a huge variety of use cases. We have the most operational experience at scale of any cloud provider. Internally, we say that there's no compression algorithm for experience, and that's because you can't learn certain lessons until you get to different milestones in scale. And then specific to Veeam, AWS and Veeam have been providing tools to restore on-premise instances directly into EC2. The implication there is that customers who are paying for idle resources in a disaster recovery site no longer need to do that. They can use EC2 as an on-demand backup data center and just avoid paying for capacity that's not being used in normal day-to-day circumstances. Back to you, Kelsey.
Yeah, and I think that last point is a really great point of being able to, again, taking away another data center and
For
using
sure.
what AWS offers. But let's dive into this TEI study because that is what you are all here for. So Veeam and AWS had Foster conduct this study because we wanted an independent third party to conduct it. We have so many success stories that I'm sure some of you have seen, but having someone like Forrester do it and do the calculations and do the report and write it all together gives it a different level of verification to say, hey, this is what Veeam and AWS can accomplish together for this large organization. So who was the participant? It was one multi-billion-dollar organization that was based in North America. However, they have over 600 locations worldwide. And they've been using Veeam for 3 years and AWS for 6 years. And with Veeam, they're using our flagship product, our Veeam Data Platform. However, some of you might know it for more of its on-prem services, but we can work natively in the cloud, which is why we're here today. We're talking about AWS. So please don't think that Veeam only does on-prem. And this organization also has 30,000 employees and 2 large data centers. So as you can imagine, it is quite a lot of data to keep this organization going. And managing all that data was a challenge, especially because of the way that they grew was through acquisition. This meant that they acquired a lot of technical debt, different software tools, different hardware tools that all did not line up and match. And they had to find a way to incorporate them all into their one environment. And not only was this inefficient, but it also had a potential issue for security, depending on how the different levels of security were for each of these organizations that they acquired. So if one organization was lacking it, that could really affect the whole company. And all these different backup tools meant that they needed the personnel to manage it. It took 10 engineers responsible to manage this large environment. And granted, it was a large environment, but did they need 10, or was it because of all the backup tools and it was not properly created and organized? And not only was this an additional cost for management, but it was a technical cost. And as you can imagine, they also wanted to save up on backup storage. I mean, who doesn't? So next you'll see the needs that they're looking for when they were looking for a new vendor. And the first one, and probably the most important, was again, saving that backup storage. They wanted to reduce the backup costs because it was high with all those point products and the siloed environments that Mary mentioned earlier can cause overspend. And they wanted a solution that required minimal effort, yet still unified all of their siloed environments across one entire hybrid cloud environment. And lastly, they wanted a reliable solution that was familiar to their engineers. They needed a reputable vendor, just like AWS around for 17 years, Veeam around for a while. They wanted someone who could deliver exactly what the engineers knew how to use and what they said. And they couldn't afford to go through extensive training whenever they hired a new engineer or if they moved someone over. It had to be easy to use. So what were the results? I mean, these are some big results right here. So let's really dive in and take a look at that. The first one, as you can see, is 185% ROI. Right there, that's the first need solved, saving money on backup. And they were able to reduce their backup costs both immediately and over time. But a significant portion of the savings came from the infrastructure savings. The storage on how Veeam and AWS does it led to these results, plus being able to consolidate all of their hybrid cloud environment and unifying, standardizing the data protection across their environments. I don't want to just gloss over that. Like, that is a really big deal to be able to see all of their environment on one dashboard and unifying the security, the automation, the policies. That is a really big deal for a large organization or even a small organization. To everything is on the same level. Another way that they were able to save money was the pay-as-you-go pricing. The organization only paid for the resources it consumed, which eliminated the need for over-provisioning during peak demand. Because if you do have, say, an infrastructure instead of in the cloud, you're paying for that whether you use it or not. With the cloud, when it is set up correctly, it is a really great feature that you can then scale up during peak demand and then go back down when you don't no longer need it. So you're only paying for the compute that you need in the moment. Mary, did you want to talk about the next one?
Yeah, the TEI study quantified a $2.1 million net present value of benefit from 3 years of cloud storage savings. So using Veeam with AWS enabled this organization to lower its cloud spend. And they did that by compressing Amazon Elastic Block Store, or EBS snapshots, directly into Amazon S3 buckets. And that gave them a really cost optimized long-term solution.
And then the next one, it might not seem like a big deal or exciting, but I think it's one of the biggest ones because it saved 80% reduction in time testing patches and managing production updates. And the next, it solved the need for having a simple solution that gave them eyes across their entire hybrid cloud environment. And we all know that testing is not necessarily a fun part, but it's necessary since checking and testing your environment is crucial for maintaining a secure environment. It's not flashy, but I'm not sure what part of backup is really flashy, to be honest, but it needs to get done. You have to do it. You need to make sure the environment is working how you intend to and fix any glitches, any issues before they become problems. Because one minor glitch, if you don't catch it in time, could become a big security threat, even if it's from human error or a cyber attack. So this time saved allowed the organization to focus on a more strategic projects that will then push the organization forward.
Yeah, and there were management savings associated with the consolidation of multiple backup tools into one. And this allowed this organization to reallocate one full time person away from what we would call the undifferentiated heavy lifting associated with managing more than one backup tool and apply that person's skills towards projects that drive greater value for the business and for customers.
And what's not on here as a direct number, but I think you can all understand from what Mary and I have been saying, is that they wanted a reliable solution that engineers knew. And not only are Veeam and AWS market leaders, we are, but using us was able to both free up capital and people to keep them moving forward. But there are also some unquantifiable benefits that they received. Because besides cost savings, they saw faster recovery times that we mentioned earlier, but let's look into exactly what that meant for this organization. And they were able to achieve great RPOs and RTOs for both full instances and again at a granular level, files and folders. As you'll read in the study, the interview stated, file and folder recovery using Veeam with AWS is much cleaner and faster than with our previous product. So not only was this organization more efficient in their recoveries, but it also was a step up. They could recover faster and exactly what they needed without having to do the full instance. But another main focus on everybody's mind is security. So with cyber attacks as prevalent as they are nowadays, it is crucial for organizations to have the best security features. And this organization was able to strengthen their security posture with us. They were able to logically air gap their data, whether it was across account or cross region, all from a single dashboard. Since we all know that having a resilient environment includes separating your primary data from your backup. So that way, if anything did happen to your primary data, you can still recover safely without it infecting your whole environment. And the organization was able to do that easily. And again, auditing or automatic reporting is not a fun part. We all know it's cumbersome to generate reports, and it can be very time consuming to prove, and you have to constantly prove that you meet these standards. And we understand that this job is not exciting. I mean, if you had a choice between gathering data, generating reports, or playing around with AWS's newest AI features to improve your organization, I know what you'll choose. And that's okay. At Veeam, we get it. And that is why we think reporting shouldn't have to take up a lot of the time. And that is why we streamlined it so you can focus more time on other aspects. And here this organization was able to set the automated reporting to happen whenever they wanted to, whatever time frame they wanted, which again frees up their time to focus on other projects. But lastly, the encryption. That's what we all think about when it comes to security. Mary, can you talk about that?
Yeah, KMS integrates with a wide range of AWS services, including Amazon S3, where you can encrypt objects that are stored in S3 buckets using KMS managed keys, and then EBS, where you can encrypt data on your volumes. So by leveraging AWS KMS, you can significantly enhance the security of your data and meet compliance requirements. It's a really convenient and a really effective solution for key management.
So those were some of the benefits the organization saw specifically. However, we also wanted to talk about some of the benefits that Veeam and AWS bring to everybody. And again, we have talk about cost optimization, so I'll make this brief. But with Veeam's 2-in-1 compression, you can decrease the size of your storage footprint, making it more cost efficient. And additionally, by setting up intelligent tiering, you can then move your data throughout your environment automatically. So you can move it into longer term storage if it becomes less critical or if you need to keep it for compliance. And lastly, what we haven't really mentioned was the cost calculators that you can have with Veeam. And as you're setting up your environment, you'll be able to see an estimate on how much it costs before you finalize anything. That way you can avoid that dreaded bill shock. You can see what it probably will cost at the end of the month and then make the changes necessary if you need to. And again, we have fast recovery. Since we all know accidents such as human error, outages, or anything like cyber attacks can happen. So making sure you have the ability to recover quickly and reliably, I want to say that reliably is essential. With Veeam and AWS, you can recover again your data 7 times faster. With a click of a button, you can narrow down which file or instance you want to recover, making it a simple and quick process. And security. I mean, we can't talk about AWS and Veeam without security. By utilizing AWS's security features such as immutability, encryption, you are giving your environment that extra level of protection, and you'll be keeping up with the newest features, the newest updates. Because as Mary said, they are the market leaders. They understand what needs to be done, and they're constantly improving. And that gives your organization a potential level up against the bad actors. And Veeam also enables you to logically air gap your backups across any environment and tightly control access between them with the fine-grained IAM role control. And on top of that, features like RBAC and MFA allow you to delegate secure access and control to the Veeam console, to security teams, application owners, and so much more. And lastly, what I love to talk about is our operational efficiency. With Veeam and AWS, you'll be able to centrally manage all of your data on one dashboard. You can protect your workloads on AWS, backup restore into AWS from on-premises, or vice versa. And that works great for migrations because it's really up to you on how you want to design or improve your environment. Veeam and AWS is just here to make it as efficient as possible. We don't want to hold you back from what makes your organization functions to its utmost potential. But we do have a few customer stories to explain that a little bit more. Let's start with BrickVic. It's a story that not only improves security, but BrickVic was also able to save time and effort because we were able to boost their cyber resilience by helping them to conform to the NIST cybersecurity framework and protect its business from interruption without having to spend more money. So right there, they did not have to give up security for cost savings. And they're able to save time and effort by simplifying backup activities, which gives you more time to focus on driving innovation by exploring how they can adopt new technologies to support the business. So again, saving up time and money with their backup so they can focus on other aspects because AWS is always coming out with the best features. So why not use that money to figure out how you can improve your organization? And then we have SciOx. It is a really great hybrid cloud story. It is a healthcare organization that wanted security and being able to access the data quickly, and that is very critical for them. And I think Robbie Hudak, their CISO and the champion at the time, said it best and better than what I can say on why Veeam and AWS was able to help them. Because we didn't care where their data resides or what hardware you use. It provides outstanding protection regardless. We knew that Veeam was the ideal choice for our diverse technology landscape, and it would support us however we choose to evolve in the future. It ticks the boxes for flexibility and affordability because they looked at Veeam to standardize their recovery strategy and build in the resilience with the zero trust principles. But if you're not at an enterprise organization, that's okay. Veeam and AWS still can provide some really great improvements to your backup. If you look at Best Friends Animal Society, they had some pretty amazing results, besides the fact of the amazing work that they do saving dogs. And with Veeam and AWS, they were able to become more efficient and save more dogs, with the reported savings of $40,000 per year, which they then reallocated that money into a data warehouse for predictive analytics, which led to more dogs being rescued without, again, sacrificing any data protection, because backup shouldn't get in the way of your organization reaching its goals. So take a look at these stories, take a look at the TEI study, and see how potentially you could save money in your backups and how to make them more secure. And if you do want to learn more, here is the link. We'll also put the link in the chat box for the TEI study. Take it out. Take a look at it. See what's in it. See if you think that your organization has similar challenges or needs, and use it as a proof of concept to bring to your team and say, maybe we should look at Veeam and AWS to improve our backups and our storage costs. And if that sounds interesting to you, please reach out to us. Let me see if there are any questions in the Q&A box. Here's one. Are there new Veeam and AWS exciting updates or releases that we should know about? We actually just had a new release with AWS, and that brought in Amazon FSx as well as Amazon Redshift. So now Veeam is backing up those two features, along with what Mary was talking about earlier was backing up on-prem VMs to Amazon EC2. It's not the newest one, but it's fairly new. And again, I just really want to emphasize the great opportunity and benefits that that could bring to your organization. And then where can we find the TEI study? We'll put that link in the chat box for you guys to look at. And then the last one is AWS Backup a standalone product in the Veeam portfolio, or is it part of the Veeam Data Platform? So it can be both. However, to highlight or to achieve and get the newest features, you need to purchase the Veeam Data Platform. That is how you can get the best of our cybersecurity, our resilience, as well as anything new that we're doing with AWS, is with the Veeam Data Platform. So a few other links that you can look at is our backup cost calculators. Along with the TEI study, we also came out with a backup cost calculator for you guys to go through without having to put in any personal information. You guys can see how much you could potentially save in backup costs with Veeam. And then if you want a deeper look into what that would entail, then you would put in your information. So it's essentially free for you guys to use right now at the first level. And if all that sounds interesting to you and you want to learn more about Veeam and AWS, we'd be happy to talk to you. So use the link here to speak to our cloud specialist and see how Veeam and AWS can work together to not only keep your security posture how it is or improve it while saving money. That's it. Unless, Mary, you wanted to say anything?
No, just thank you, everyone, for your time today. And thank you, Kelsey. I've really enjoyed it.
Thank you again, Mary, for joining this. And we wanted to keep it short and sweet for you all because we know how busy everything can be during the end of the year. So thank you for joining.